are here because we care about the same thing, our communities and our kids. And finally, a big thank you to Pete and Mooney, who will be here as a mediator and helping keep things balanced and constructive this evening. I'm going to give him a mic so that he'll be able to kind of step in if needed.
And in closing, though we've had some positive news with the ice going in, there's so many factors that obviously can impact our year ahead. So please use tonight to stay informed, be heard, and show our small communities have big voices when it comes to things that matter. And I'm just going to ask that if you're talking, we use the microphone as our talking stick tonight, and that way they can hear us through the recording. Thank you. Who wants to start?
Here, I'm going to turn this over to Chris Calder, who is our CAO. He's been bearing the brunt of all of this and has the most recent information. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks Danielle, and apologies to those sitting in front. I'm sorry, it's good to have you in the circle. Apologies to those behind me. So yeah, my name is Chris Calder. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer of the Regional District. Thank you very much for inviting us to come out to this meeting and for your attendance again. As Megan and Kimberly said, on a Friday night of a long weekend, so I definitely appreciate everybody being here. Before I go further and kind of jump into our update on things, I really want to acknowledge the challenging situation that residents of the Valley have been placed in regarding the arena services and the potential service reductions and some of the challenges and changes that you're seeing as a result of the current situation. So I came out to McBride myself last year. We had an open house at our VRC. And from that and from my other interactions in the community, I've lived in Prince Georgian area for over 30 years. I truly do understand how invaluable the arenas are and how tight the communities are out here and how important this is. And so I just want to open with that's something that we definitely consider and understand. So appreciating that we're coming to you from the big city, Prince George, but we have sort of have that understanding. So my intention, thanks, Director Torgerson, and Mayor Torgerson's here from Valemount now. So my intention tonight really is to focus on the services in your community, so mainly the ice arenas, and try to add to this solutions-focused collaborative discussion. I won't be able to, and nor will it be fair to discuss significant details around bargaining and negotiations, so that's a separate process that's certainly connected to why we're here and what that looks like, but I'll be unable to comment on negotiation-related questions and concerns. So I realize that means I may not be able to answer all of your questions necessarily that you might have, but I'll endeavor to answer those that I can or that we have the answers to here tonight, so appreciating that. I guess just a brief background, so having said that, there's a bit of brief background on kind of how we have got here, and so I want to talk through that first. So from a very high level piece around bargaining and how we got to this position, so we, in our collective agreement, it did expire at the end of last year, December 31st, 2024. We did start bargaining in February, bargained through February and March without reaching a deal. We worked through different processes around essential services and worked through mediation in August, and progress was made, and we're getting closer in that sense. And then we've worked through essential service designations and had a hearing in front of Labor Relations Board on items of solid waste and building inspection. We've seen stories about that in the Citizen and on the Citizen website. And so once those items were kind of completed earlier in September, that's sort of where we're at with the bargaining piece. So I wanted to kind of talk through, and obviously I'm talk to the arenas, but if there was job action and we get to that point, there would be impacts to regional district services across the board. So not just the ice arenas, and we're here mostly to talk about the ice arenas, but if we were to see that happen, certain services would be retained at the full levels. Some would be considered essential, but many services would see a reduction of sort of the service available or the levels that are there, or there could be a complete stoppage of the service depending. But wanting residents to be aware that some of the essential pieces will continue, things like 911, fire dispatch, your volunteer fire departments. I see Dave Ruby in the back there, former fire chief for a long time here in McBride. So those things will continue. Our emergency preparedness team, being able to respond to emergencies within the region, those sorts of things continue, as well as any community services where we're not the end provider, so things like libraries, TV broadcasting, those sorts of things will continue. Areas that could be or would be curtailed depending on how that strike action takes place, if it never does. It includes solid waste, building permits and inspections, development, zoning, and property concerns or inquiries, and then obviously arenas, which we're here to talk about tonight, so I won't expand on that, of course. Just wanted to let people know that there's more to than just arenas, but obviously we're here to focus on that today because that's the topic at hand. So, yeah. With that, I want to turn the focus to the arenas itself. Obviously, that's what we're here to talk about. And so I want to talk through some of the technical pieces around requirements for our operations and what the service could look like in a job action scenario. But before I do that, I want to discuss the events.
Round the gallery, short man.
Still says 2. Okay, there we go. Back. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, sorry. That was interesting. So yeah, I wanted to discuss the events of the past week or 10 days or so. So as we headed into the ice making season and into the winter season, due to the uncertainty around potential job action and the required time period to install ice, and the requirements to maintain it after, we decided not to start the ice plants at that time, sort of at our typical time. Due to that essential service process, it's two bars. Okay, it's working. Through the essential service process, we knew operation of the arenas would not be granted as an essential service. Significant legislation around that. And so we were paused at the start of the season and waiting further information on whether we could install ice and then be able to maintain it. And I'm going to talk more about the technical pieces around that. So on October 1st, as you're all aware, we provide notification to the communities that ice making would be postponed due to the unknowns around job action and the ability to maintain the ice. So understandably, that was bad news for the communities, and we knew that was going to be the case, that wasn't going to be a challenge. Since that date, our team has worked really hard to reconsider. We have a team, back in Prince George here locally, our supervisor working out of both McBride and Valemount to reconsider the requirements to install ice, maintain ice, and find solutions for how we can improve from our base case, which is basically we have no ice and no timeline for installation, which I realize is not good on any front. And under that discussion, and based on some additional clarity, we were able to start up the first ice plant in Valemount on Wednesday. And I'll talk further about why Valemount over McBride, but the overview is due to difference in technical monitoring requirements. So Valemount's requirements are much less stringent than those requirements in McBride, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. The attention then turned to McBride, can we do something there? So we got Valemount started, can we do something in McBride? So the team went back, poured over our analysis of different scenarios and determined we could start at McBride as well, but that there would be certain conditions or caveats with having both sheets started. And for maintenance and for usage in the event of job action. Because if we have job action, we lose access to our unionized staff, and they hold key knowledge and certifications in terms of the ice plant and ice maintenance, and so we certainly rely on their expertise to retain the ice over time. So with that, the ice.
Is there another microphone?
Yes, there is another.
Let's say it has batteries, so just yeah, it's probably just a wireless connection, so we'll keep working on that. As I mentioned, the ice plant in McBride is scheduled to be turned on starting on Tuesday. So as you mentioned in our release yesterday, that will start on Tuesday. And so with both arenas, we'll work through the ice making process starting Tuesday. So Valemount's turned on and it can have ice started, and they'll get on fairly parallel timings just because there was some cleaning that's required of the concrete flooring now first, and we're able to do that before we actually start the plant at McBride. So that will equalize things across in terms of timing. Maybe a few days apart, but they should be able to be on a very similar path towards ice installation. So at this time, or as of today, with ice starting Tuesday and ice making process, I don't have a scheduled date for you of when ice will be ready and available for use, but we do intend to keep you notified as we work through that process and get closer to completion. So I don't want to give you a date and then we aren't able to meet that date based on the process. I think for those of you last year, you saw, I think when you came to the open house, we had the humidity and we had dripping of water from the ceiling and causing issues on the ice, and so it did take a little longer. And so I don't expect that to happen again. The humidity and things are different this year, and we're a bit further into the season. But again, things happen with the ice making process. It's not an exact science.
Is everybody able to hear Chris?
Yes.
Even with the microphone and everything like that? Okay, I just wanted to double check and make sure that everybody's able to hear that.
My wife's in my ear, speak up, can't hear you. So I wanted to move over to, so that's sort of the current update on the arenas. That we have both plants are started or will be started, and then we'll be working through ice. And I said those will run somewhat in parallel. We may have different dates of completion, but they should be within a couple of days of each other. Sort of the intent and the hope. So with that, I guess I want to talk to you a bit more of the technical specifications around how that will look and what that takes, and some of the, again, I referenced it earlier around kind of the decision making and what that entails. So for us, we have one exempt personnel for the arenas in the valley. So one person who's not unionized is our exempt supervisor here in the valley between McBride and Valemount. So we have one exempt person, and that person is certified to maintain the ice from an ice plant perspective. So should job action occur, if that does, the ammonia plants may need to be turned off, and ice at the McBride arena would be left to potentially melt. It would be a significant challenge for that one person to manage both facilities, working with that one person to be able to split time between the two facilities on a long-term basis. So as we're required to maintain compliance with technical safety VC requirements. We get an operating certificate to run the ice plant to ensure safety and to ensure the appropriate use of it. And so in McBride, that means somebody certified has to be in the building 7 hours a day, 7 days a week, including statutory holidays. So even on Christmas Day, and we fight this with the province and with technical safety, on Christmas Day in Box Day, we technically need to have somebody there or get some form of a variance from technical safety to get around that for the day, knowing there's no public on, say, Christmas Day itself using the facility. Whereas with Valemount, it's a little bit different. It's more under a general supervision model, and so that is a change in that, and the reasoning for Valemount over McBride, if there was a reason to have to choose one. And so, unfortunately, that is really the base case on, and the reasons why they're different is a unique story in terms of we have very similar ice plants installed in both areas, in both arenas, and we actually asked for the exact same variance from technical safety, and they gave us two different. They won't give us the same variance in the second place. So, challenges with dealing with the provincial entities and things on that, and we continue to push for that. So with that, like as I mentioned, McBride has the most challenges when it comes to the operator certificates in terms of the requirements. And so one certified exempt personnel would be able to ensure ice is kept in a frozen state at the Valemount arena for sure, but would not be able to maintain ice for the use of the public during the strike, just given the requirements for maintenance, but the ability to keep it for safe use for the public would not be possible in a job action state. So the regional district would work with the resources it has to set a schedule where residents can utilize other parts of the facility. So knowing we have the gyms or fit pits in both facilities that convert according to McBride. Currently using the lounge in McBride and meeting room in Valemount. So we would be able to work with that to ensure that use could continue in those areas. So as I mentioned, just kind of want to really reiterate that it really comes down to the resources we have, and only having one exempt personnel that has that refrigerant operator certification and arena ice maker certification. They are needed to ensure safety requirements are met for a technical safety BC certificate for the ammonia plant to continue to operate. Exempt personnel do not have the expertise or experience to maintain ice for safe public use during a strike without the support of our unionized positions. So we do rely upon our unionized positions, and like I said, their expertise and knowledge to maintain the ice and make sure it can be updated and refreshed for users as they use it and as things happen with the service. So in the event of a strike, we're not able to hire external contractors or refrigerant operators to ensure ice is maintained and usable. That's not allowed under the terms of under job action. And the exempt staff could only be able to keep the ice from defrosting, and that would allow it to be available when a strike concludes within a couple of days. We can clean it up and get it ready to go, and you'd be back out there. So that means that user groups would not be able to use the ice during a strike. And as I mentioned, we'd have to have the ice inspected by unionized staff and some maintenance done to ensure it's safe prior to public use following a strike. So we expect that to take a couple of days if we get to that state. So again, just reiterating that it puts significant pressure on our one exempt staff to be available 7 days a week and to make sure we maintain that compliance. Because if we lose that compliance with technical safety, we lose the ability to operate an ice plant and the ability to have ice. So that's first and foremost to make sure we maintain that for the service. From there, I guess, as mentioned, we're working through the ICE process. The whole process does take between 10 and 14 days, and like I said, it can change depending on the year and some of the things that occur. So we're working through that. I don't have the date, specific date for you yet, but it's something that we endeavor to communicate as we work through this process, and we get close enough where we can say, yes, you can use it on this date, and we can work through the scheduling, knowing that the user groups and residents are ready to go. You're ready to take registrations, do the things you need to do to be ready to use the ICE in the capacity that you want. So with that, I think that's sort of the update for now. I know you have any questions and there's other pieces, but I think that was sort of the overview that I wanted to make sure that I got through, and ability to take any questions and work through that from there. So I don't know if any of the other directors had anything they wanted to add to that, just from their experience in the community. We offer that before I pass back.
First, my apologies for my tardiness. I actually read 7 o'clock as the start time, but here we are. I want to thank both Chair Beckett and CEO Calder for making the trip out, Director Allen and Director Youngs, or Mayor Runts, to be here tonight. I attended the Valemount Minor Hockey Board meeting on Tuesday. I thought the questions were valid. I want to thank the board and the members for their quaint and thoughtful answers to the questions that they could answer. And just I think here tonight, one of the questions that arose from that meeting was, yeah, okay, we can't go back in time, but how can we avoid this same scenario when this collective bargaining agreement might be up for negotiation in the future, and what learning can we take from this scenario? So I think if those are answered, for me personally, I think that's something we can improve upon as we, 4, 5, 6 years from now. Again, yeah, it sucks that it came to this point, but what can we do better through the next CBA? Thanks all.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor George. I take that one kind of first and try to chunk that up. So I think, yeah, from a learning perspective, I think we learn something every day through some of these processes. I think there are learnings around, number one is communication with the residents and the communities out here. And I think we communicate in some ways, but then there's been some misses on how that's happened and timing and pieces. So I definitely take responsibility for that, and I think we can always do better, and we endeavor to do better in the future. So I think big learning on that piece, number one. Number two, from resourcing and sort of ability to retain ice, maintain ice, things like that. In the event of a strike, there's things that we can learn and things that we can potentially do to sort of bolster our resources, knowing that there's a balance there of resources. Anytime you have resources, you have costs, and so those costs are directly borne by the taxpayers to fund the service and things. So we're conscious of the balance there, but knowing there's learnings there of having some additional backup support in place, things like that. And then, so I think those are kind of the two main things that are sort of in our control. And obviously, we hope that we never kind of have to work through strike or potential strike piece again. So we can work through that in the negotiation and leave that for what it is. But just I think that's obviously avoids all of this in the first place, and so that's obviously a piece that we hope that we can avoid in the future. So I think it's definitely some learnings there, and probably more to come. And I appreciate that there's probably more learnings once I pass the mic out and get questions and things. So again, willing to take that in and realize that we're definitely not perfect, and we made just mistakes along the way, and so working through how we remediate those and how we alleviate those for the future, and that sort of would be sort of my answer to that. So, thank you.
I think this is a small enough group that if we speak loudly questions, do we think that we would be able to hear each other?
I would think so, yeah.
As long as we can speak one at a time.
Yeah.
The acoustics in this building is awesome, as long as one person is talking at one time.
Yeah.
I was thinking, Megan Ryan did say that was a talking stick, it might be better.
Well, there's that too. We're using it as a talking stick. So absolutely, so where are we at, you guys? Are we at the public questions?
If there's people that want to start taking questions, yeah, we can go.
Fraser.
can just turn it
Do you
off.
think that will work?
Yeah. Robert,
Does anyone want to start with questions or no?
Well, I just have a question with you speaking. Valemount's plant is Freon, actually, correct?
No, it's
No?
ammonia.
It is money.
And-
Your plant is Freon.
Okay.
The curling club
The
plant
curling,
is free on?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the question I have, and I think you probably already take this to heart, but from what I understand, the timeline, they were in a position to strike in August, correct? Right? So this, like I'm a manager, coach, I was already scheduling games. Like tournament, our U9 tournament is supposed to be first week of December. I literally canceled the Clearwater, the Jasper, the Shoe-ins, 2 weeks into October, for an announcement that came October 1st, or whenever that came. So I understand union dynamics as a union ones. I understand there's legalities, I understand all this, but I feel like the town should have been informed, hey, there will be no ice in this scenario. There's no ice planned in August, whenever that strike action was achieved, right? Or the ability to strike, right? Because, I mean, we were even talking, some of us might have rostered our kids somewhere else. There's serious implications here, and it was kind of blindsided. So whether that's the union primarily or the regional district, it just doesn't work. We got to get out of this COVID thing and get back to a democracy where we have, these decisions are open, right? It's our tax money. If there's write-off costs, we understand the 30 grand, we understand the mobilization costs, everyone here understands this. But the blindsiding just isn't going to work. That's pretty much all.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
So just sitting here wondering, and I don't know if any user group would be interested in having an answer to this question, but kind of late in the game. But once ice is in, is there any appetite, or if it was wished upon the communities to leave the ice in longer at the other end?
Yeah, so something we definitely considered and will consider. So we're going into budget process to sort through budget for next year, and so definitely something we would consider. Again, if there's the willingness and usage from the user groups, kind of commitment to extend seasons, we can definitely look at that. My understanding is our typical season ends around end of March or first week of April. I'm not sure the exact date of sort of when we stop using ice and start to work through that, but I think we definitely could look at extending that for sure to make up for some of the front end loss. Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead. I'll talk. I will talk.
I'm the president of the McBride Curling Club. And I was in talking to Rick today at the arena. And my question is, what's going on with that plastic and stuff? Is that going to get removed, or what's going on there? And the second question I had was to do with the doors on the side. Apparently one has been taken out so far, and Rick was saying that they're going to be talking about doing these doors before winter, and it's not much sense putting our ice in until the doors are in, because it's just going to make a heck of a mess. So I'm just wondering, are them doors going to be going in, or what's the score there?
Yeah, so though that's an active project that we have, I don't necessarily have the update on when that's scheduled, but we're trying to get the contractor up to do those. Knowing we had a lot of challenge with the doors that sort of energy loss out of the building, so there's a big efficiency there.
It's been a problem for the last 20 years.
Yeah, so I can get an update for you and circle back on that one in terms of timing and understanding. We plan to have it in before winter, and we're not snowing out there yet, but we're getting close. I know you want to put ice in there. The mess on the side of the building, that is planned to be cleaned up in the next week or so, a week or two. So that's the plan, to clean that up and have that all sorted.
Okay.
Sure. I guess I don't do this. I can talk pretty loud, so I came here tonight because I was pretty ticked off. All 5 members of our family were very much counting on the rec center this year. So our understanding was the ice was going in early and everybody got really excited. My 5-year-old, 3-year-old have been counting on this since the day that they were there for coloring the ice, but just before they took the ice out. And so they've been counting on skating all the way till now. Now we have to, then it's delayed, and then, so it was supposed to be in 2 weeks before the 1st of October, so then the announcement didn't come out until the 1st of October. So I hear what you're saying about mistakes have been made and whatever. So, like you said, we can understand there's budgetary and all this kind of stuff, and I'm all for union people getting, for the workers getting paid more. My understanding is low 20s in the hourly wage. It's pretty low. So McDonald's pays about the same amount, I think. But so I'm all for them getting paid more as far as tax money goes. But this is about the only resource that we have in our town left. Between our VCS cutting a bunch of things for small kids, and between the school district cutting a bunch of things for small kids, there's not much left. And the rec center was something that we were all counting on. And there were coaches here. There were 60 kids in the club last year. And there should be another row over here for the 12 kids from the SDA school, RBGA, that show up weekly for their gym time every week. And then there's a bunch of the parents and stuff have their kids in minor hockey. Last I'm aware, and I heard this through the grapevine, forgive me if it's incorrect, but there was a regional district meeting at the rec center because they were wanting to shut it all down or something like that, and nobody at regional district seemed to be aware that there's 60 kids at the figure skating club. There's another 20 or 30 kids in the minor hockey club. My husband's part of the old timers, and on the one night that he shows up, there's a dozen people, and then there's another 2 nights beyond that. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the number of people in this community that actually use, and I'm speaking from McBride, not Valemount, but that actually use the rec center, because that kind of decision to delay the ice is impacting like a third of the community. It's pretty significant. So it's not just like, oh, well, this is just it. This is, yeah, okay, so it's a big expense and everything, but it's impacting a lot of people. And I'd like to know how you guys take that into account in your decision making. Do you actually have numbers on how many people use things? That's one of my questions, but also one of the things that I learned as part of this grapevine conversation is that our rec center is not allowed to advertise events at the rec center unless it's first passed through regional district, and the regional district has to post it on Facebook or announce it to the community. So it has to happen obviously between Monday and Friday at 3 p.m., whatever, p.m. on a Friday afternoon. So any last minute reminders on Facebook, like, hey everybody, remember the figure skating show is tonight at 6 p.m. or anything like that can't happen because that has to all run through regional district, which seems a little bit bizarre that our local Facebook, like there's nobody locally that can just post to Facebook that there's regional district things happening. So that what ends up happening is individuals in the community end up posting it. But how is that going to, how does that consistently get through to everybody? It doesn't. That's the end. And so then their numbers at the rec center are lower as a result. So then we have these, I'm not sure if the impression at regional district is that this is not as important as it currently is to the community, or if you guys realize that the impact, because there's the Seventh-day Adventists all can't come because tonight's their Sabbath. So that's why none of them are here, which is pretty significant. And I'm not actually from that church. I'm just saying that's one group that I know of that could have been here but isn't. Then there's the long weekend, of course, which. Anyways, it's a Friday of a long weekend, yes, but I left the Passel family back at home right now. They're all having dinner at home, but I'm here tonight because this is really important to us for this year. So anyways, I would like to know if there's a way to get more feedback between here and regional district so that we can actually get you guys some numbers and so that you have the correct impression of just how important this is. The arena gets filled up multiple times a year with all these different events. But then also, is there a way for, sorry, lost my train of thought, but there was 2 questions I had, and hopefully I the first one. I'll stop talking now.
So it is communication, so I'm just going to jump in here. There is nobody, who discounts the impact and the quality of life issues that our recreation centers bring. Those are our most expensive facilities. They cost on average each community about close to $750,000 a year to run. And you guys pay for that through your taxes, every single one of you. It's almost 100% borne by taxpayers. So, we know how many people use the rec center. You go there on a carnival night or a minor hockey night, and it's just packed. So, that's not the issue. It was never about, oh, we'll just do this because we don't care. Never, not even a little bit. It was never about, oh, only 30 people use it, so it doesn't matter. None of that. That wasn't even, you know, we know how important it is. We know how many people use the rec centers, both the rec centers, both for the ice surfaces and off-site and off-ice. You know, it builds community. These are community assets, and trust me, there's a lot of learning, and I'm pretty sure that most people have called and let people know just how important the arenas are to them. So there's none of that, and every single, this is important. This is all important. So, yes.
It's really nice to hear, but you do understand that we all had to get together, ask a million questions. Nobody told us anything.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you just left us hanging after saying you guys are going to get your ice early. So it's great that you guys care. I truly hope you care now, because this can't happen again. Like she said, this is what we do in the wintertime. You can't just not give us our ice.
Yeah.
What are you laughing at? Sorry, just before the next question, can we get some clarity around the communication piece between facility to Prince George back to facility for events?
Thank you.
Yeah, so I wanted to speak to the open house piece from last year. So I know the community rumor was that we're coming out to do an open house and trying to shut down the election. That was never the intention. I think we asked questions in the survey, how do you use the facility so you get a better understanding.
Survey, sorry, I didn't know there was a survey.
We got over 200 responses to it. And so that did definitely inform our approach for hours and different things and trying to work through, making it a better, even better. And so I definitely understand the heavy usage from the community. So yeah, I just want to clarify that rumor piece, because we heard that when it came out. Oh, we heard you're shutting it down. I said, no, we're coming out to do an open house. How are you using it? How can we make this better? What does this look like? And talk a bit about sort of future infrastructure and some of the things that we're doing and what that's going to cost, all those sorts of things. Give information. So I touch on that. The communication side, certainly. So we have our sort of corporate team, and communications is a part of that in Prince George. However, we're trying our best to really facilitate access to our local supervisors to make those types of decisions. So I'll definitely take that back, and that's something that we should be able to action. It doesn't, I get something has to go to Prince George for a decision, but it's really just certain folks will do some of that type of work and then assist to provide support. Not intended to be asked to go there for a decision and then back. It's just really as a capacity piece to provide. We have the capacity to provide that service to all of our services across the whole regional district in Prince George. And so that's sort of one natural piece that we need to always do better on how we assist with that. Because I get something at 6 o'clock on a Friday, well, somebody needs to have access to be able to do that. So I appreciate that. And so
Good people.
I'll hold this, but I don't need it. I'm Kevin Chipka, I'm from McBride. I work in Valemount, sometimes 5 days a week. A few years ago, there was a meeting at the curling club in McBride, and Michael Higgins was there, and he sat there and he talked down to the people of McBride like you wouldn't believe. The reason for that is the Ivory Tower in Prince George. You need to get out of the ivory tower, make the decisions on the ground. The problem between the union and the regional district is between the union and the regional district. I hope there's a good agreement that both sides agree to. That'd be wonderful. Don't hold us hostage. I remember when that building in McBride was built. I remember skating out beside the fire hall in -30 so we could skate. I remember that building opening up. I remember the talk of a junior B team coming. I remember the old A-frame getting torn down from Valemount and the shell being put up. The decisions need to be made more here, not there. Because our taxes pay it. Our taxes also pay your wages, pay the regional district wages. We need a bigger voice. We have a CCC in McBride, Community Consultation Committee, and there's one in Valemount, I believe. Were either of those informed of this decision before it was thrown out to the public?
we have been in communication with them. I can't say on specific dates and things because our team does some of that, but yeah, definitely.
Okay, because I don't recall getting the email of warning that was happening, and I'm on the CCC in McBride, but that's not the Haddon warning. Like, this is ridiculous. It's not our problem that you have a problem like that.
Well, I too would like to thank everyone for coming, but I'd like to take you back to when you were speaking of the services that would not be discontinued, the firemen, the libraries, those people. I'd like to take us back to that place and question how important it is, maybe not so much in Prince George when you have so much activities and so much variety, but in two small communities like this. What about if you looked at the contingency of mental health and saw mental health in small communities as a reason enough to make that fall under the same parallels as the firemen who are going to put out the fires, as the library who's going to lend the books? I think if we went back in your curriculum, or whatever I should call it, if we go back into that place and look and see how does the mental health in a community stay stable in the wintertime, and how does our skating rink and our recreation, how does it affect our people? The children at the schools use it on a regular basis for ice skating in their PE classes. The little tykes are out skating and learn to skate on private open skating day, all the way up to the seniors, who I'm really sorry aren't here tonight. I really hope they show up too, because they're part of it. They're part of, the ladder that it touches. Then we have senior citizens that can't walk on the ice, so they come to the rink and they walk around the exterior of the rink. And then when we have a game or a skating, or even if the kids are just out skating, grandparents, aunts, uncles come to watch. And it's all about having something to keep your mental sanity healthy during the winter. And that seems to have been ignored in the whole situation. So I'd like to see you go back and see if you can find a place in your documentation that would put a skating rink in Valemount and McBride in a place where it's not actually feasible to shut it down, because it makes so much difference in the mental health of people. Not just the children skating, the entire community. I think it's an essential service as well. Thank you.
You stated that the ice is not a necessity, and I feel in a small community especially, it's a really big necessity. Like how she said, it's a mental health, or how the community uses it really well. I think that it's just the amount of people that use it, the fundraisers, the events. I think that, yeah, it's not putting out fires, stopping crime, but I feel like it could really be a necessity. So that's all.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason the library wouldn't be shut down is because it's not managed by the regional district, right? So that, I think, needs to be explained to everybody, that it's not because it's an essential service, it's because it's not managed by the regional district, there's no union employees. There's a board that runs the same with the Whistle Stop Gallery, same with these places. So my suggestion is obviously that the arena start being managed locally. There's so many benefits to this, both McBride and Valemount. If you don't, a small town like this with union employees, CUPE 69 represents the entire regional district, Fraser-Fort, George, right? So that's a huge pool of employees to then try to manage. We only have one non-contract staff. There should also be a manager for McBride and a manager for Valemount. I don't know how that gets done, but there's got to be a way that then their communication can improve, and we can have a local committee that, like Mackenzie, for example, they have their ice in, again, because they're not managed by regional district. And I don't know how that works with the budget being released to
these small communities and stuff, but obviously there's a way to have that done. And I don't know how that gets explored, but it eliminates a big part of that. And that is why the library wouldn't be shut down. It's not because it's considered an essential service either. I feel like that was a little bit misconstrued there.
Yeah, I guess we can speak to that piece, I appreciate that.
Yes, you want to add that? Yeah.
Some of the essential pieces, so when I say it, I apologies if I...
Yeah, press and hold, press and hold.
Yeah, so I think appreciate that clarity. So when I talk about things that are kind of deemed essential, there's provincial legislation that deems certain things essential. Again, so there's around services where we don't have staffing, so it can continue. There's also services where we do have staffing and it can continue because it's deemed essential. And so something like solid waste, we have an order that provides for some essential service levels of staffing. So with the arenas, and I appreciate feedback around mental health and the need for the community. So I don't think if I was unclear, I didn't, not saying that the arena is not necessary. I did not say that. The nature of it as an essential is not something we could get as essential through provincial legislation. It's not deemed by the province to be an essential service that could be considered. So that's a challenge that we face and something that we bring up to the province. That doesn't make sense. They can't. These are I deem them as essential services to our living and our communities. But from an essential service legislation point of view, there's a different bar to that. So that's something that we've just kind of tried to point out there in that sense. And that's why things like fire, 911, those things continue because there's a public safety element to it. So it's health, safety, and welfare of British Columbians, and that makes certain things essential. So I appreciate that the community and the use of the arena, that for me falls under welfare of community and mental health and all those things provide. But legislation doesn't necessarily allow for that, or isn't really up to the times on that. So yes.
And so what are chances, just personally talking to you, what would the chances be to reach out and see if we can get that legislation changed so that it does fall for small communities?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, something I had a conversation a couple weeks ago in Victoria with the Ministry of Labour on this point around how that some of these issues that we run into and sort of how that works for us as a regional district, the types of services we have, what would be considered essential legislation-wise, what we think is essential from a living perspective, right? Like what does a resident think is essential, right? And those are very different things compared to through legislation. So yeah, really good point. Something we can advocate for. As you can imagine, the province is not fast, not necessarily always effective, but something we can advocate for. So yeah, I just want to make that clarity, have that clarity around sort of essential from a legislative, provincial point of view, and then what we think is essential and is important, and obviously the arena is certainly on that list. So I want to make sure to convey that, and I appreciate that, why we're here tonight, and why, like you said, there'd be even more people here if it wasn't specifically Friday of Thanksgiving and things. So yeah, I just want to clarify that.
So it's essential to us, but apparently not essential to the province.
Which is something that we can ask our representatives to lobby for and get changed.
As Shannon said, like, is there creative solutions that can be found to be able to make sure that this rec center, that basically in our community at least, or our two communities, that this can be treated as if it's essential, even if the legislation never changes at the top of the heap. But at least here we can find creative solutions like, where it's locally managed, and that will bring it back from out of the ivory tower. And what kind of solutions do you guys know of that are, whether it's one of these two things or something else entirely that you guys have had work out another region, somewhere else in the regional district? What other solutions do you guys have that could creatively bring this back to our community so we have more say?
Yeah, so I think utilizing the community consultation committees in a greater capacity, so we do have those in place, so can we use them in a greater capacity and work with the committees to drive change and to understand the needs of the community. I think getting the community to feed into those committees and then feed up to the staff of the rec center and having that. So we do have, like I said, we have the one exempt person out in the valley that splits time between the two facilities. Can we look at other staffing and other things? We can certainly look at that. There's definitely a financial cost to that, but knowing that this is a very important service, and so what are taxpayers willing to pay on to to be able to facilitate that. So there's definitely things that we can do and things that we could look to do. I think this, opens, realizing it's very challenging, but also opens the ability to learn from it and try to figure out what can we do to do better going forward. So certainly open to those conversations, knowing that each piece may have financial and other sort of components to think about.
I just would like to add a comment from the union side. Your community has been amazing to advocate for your services. Our members have been yelling at us, letting us know this is an important service for your community, and nothing's been done. Your voices hopefully will push the regional district to come back to the bargaining table, so we can get a fair deal for our members that support them to get the basic essentials. We're not looking for gold-plated toilets. We're just looking for a deal that matches other local governments in our area that they've received. But we like to think, our members like to think, we're a pretty small group of less than 100 people through a massive range of land providing these services, and we really like to kudos the community. You guys are amazing for coming together to fight for what you guys want. And that pressure on the regional district will hopefully bring them back to the table so we can negotiate a fair deal. So thank you.
So 14 years is how long I've been figure skating. Most of that time has been spent in McBride under Liz Trask as my coach. This is the first year I have returned home for Thanksgiving since I have left that I have not been able to go skating over Thanksgiving. So as you can imagine, this is very disappointing to have happen and see, especially under such short notice. So my first question is, as you speak a lot of disparities between equipment between McBride and Valemount, how would you plan to mitigate those things if you aren't able to gain something as an extra staff member to divide extra time between those two communities for that non-union member who you say is doing those 7 days a week in the case that there is a strike? Additionally, what would it take for a community like McBride or Valemount to run their own arenas similar to, like I believe the example was thrown out of Mackenzie? What would it take for us to be able to do something like that independent of the regional district?
In the case of Valemount, we actually did, as a village, finance, operate, manage the whole kit and caboodle when the old barn. Kevin talks about the triangle, and I can remember avoiding stalactites because of holes in the roof, trying to get around and skating in between periods just to stay warm at -40. The reason why the village negotiated with the regional district took it to a grander tax base. We couldn't afford, 500 people can't afford to operate an ice rink. 1,000 people? Sure. So that tax base got larger when the regional district took it on. And so folks in Tijon, Small River this way to Valemount, were responsible for financing that service. So history there. Valemount is just over 1,000 people. McBride is slightly over 600. I think it would be very difficult from a taxation base to do exactly that. So some history and some financing there too.
That's actually not how it works though, because that's a regional district service that went in via referendum.
Yeah.
So we are going to pay that money, so that budget would get released to whatever committee was going to run that. So the people of the village are not going to pay that bill. They are going to pay that bill on their taxes the same way they are right now. So it's not going to be forced on 500 people in the village. That's not.
I'm just giving you a history of how it got to a regional level.
Yeah, but I mean, like, don't scare the people by saying you're going to have this bill. That's not how it's going to work.
Not my point.
Okay.
Not my point.
And
making sure that budget would get released to that committee to to run that, they would get the same amount of money that's there right now.
I'm the current chairman of the CCC in McBride right now, and during the reign of Michael Higgins, we actually had a big push on to do exactly what you're saying. A couple of clarifications with that. Although, it's a good idea in a lot of senses, and you're right, it doesn't change the way it would be funded. It also wouldn't change that there would be unionized staff within there, so it wouldn't necessarily get us out of the situation right now. It would just be another group of people running it. The reason we kind of stepped back is because it looked like, as Kevin said, things were coming down from the Ivory Tower. I think I'm still kind of hopeful that that's going to take place. With the hiring of a new manager, etc. I'm hoping more of the actual decision-making is done from here. It is important, as everybody knows, the decision-making to be on a local basis, but it's also not necessarily, in the end, what the problem that we came to the conclusion was with doing it the way we're suggesting, is that it would be done on a volunteer basis. And as someone who volunteers on several committees, chairs some, and I've always been active, it's the same old 10 of us that are recycling around the same old groups. And so without some kind of way of making that oversight locally, more than just volunteers coming out, I think it would be a failure. And so it's very difficult to do that, and I think if there's other ways that we can approach it, that would be great. But the solution is that we need to bring the decision-making back to the communities.
Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question or got a chance to. Sorry, apologies. So just in your first question around sort of what can we do to mitigate the challenges and the differences between McBride and Valemount. So we have been advocating with technical safety to be able to get the same variance for the ice plant that would require general supervision. So that would make things easier easier in the sense to maintain ice plants and to be able to do that in the future. There's quite a disparity between the two systems, and so that's something that we can advocate for with the province and with technical safety. So I think that's our number one piece, and there's some other pieces that we can work on to kind of to alleviate that, but that's probably that's really the main difference in between the two arenas from an operational point of view at this point.
The question that I am wondering about is, I know McKinsey is different, and I'm just going to ask a question about McKinsey. McKinsey is not a village, it's a district, right?
Yes.
So is that basically the reason why they're looking after it? Because I think the mayor there told me that 95% of the people in the McKinsey area are within the district. And McBride, I call it McBride metropolitan area. Inside the village is a little bit over 600. But the total population was over 3,000 from Dome Creek to Small River, and now I think it's around 2,700. So we've got enough people to run something. And I'm not sure if, because McKinsey's a district, it's easy for them, and their district probably just runs that thing, is that right? And you guys provide the money?
In that case, it's all district.
Okay, so that's a complete different setup. And I like this idea of actually what we've got to do to get this thing so it doesn't happen again. That's what I'm looking at. And then the next thing I'm looking at is what do we do this winter from now on. So the one thing I want to say is I think there is a way that possibly we could, if we could get the money that came in to an organization. And I'm thinking about the library. Now the library is financed by the regional district, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Some of
Okay, some of the funding is. So if the library can do it, then we could do the same thing.
the whistle stop as well.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, Shannon, I think we got to think about that a little bit more, right? It may be something. Now, the other thing, our problem right now is we're getting caught between the union and then the regional district. That's really what it comes down to. We only have a few people that work here in our facilities. So I'm just wondering, since we've got the union person here and we've got the Boston Regional District, is it a possibility that even if you go on strike, your people can still work here? And then we don't have to worry about the rest of the women. Because I know I've met with our CAO and some of the other people on our staff, and we're taking a look right now at if this thing continues and becomes a strike, and our people can't use the arena. We're looking at where can we put an outside arena in? And we're seriously looking at that right now. But I think the real answer is because there's so few union people here. I think, and I don't know if the union can do this, so I'm just going to ask, this is a question to the union man here. I appreciate the fact that he's here. I think that's fantastic. So I guess the question goes to you. If you guys do go on strike and you're out, and because we've got these ice units with ammonia in them, they're extremely dangerous. So this is something that we can't run ourselves. A few years ago, we probably could have just ran them. Now we can't. But we need to have our kids playing hockey, and we need to have the adult portion of our population. We need a place how to be. Everybody is looking for something to do in the winter. So to the union, can you guys, and I'm not expecting you to answer it, I'm expecting you to say that we can get back to you. But anyway, I want to know if you go on strike, can you exempt these few people here so that we can get our lives back together?
So, job action for a union or a full-blown strike is the last thing we want to do. We understand how much it affects the community. And we don't want to do it. Our members don't want to do it. They want to be out there making ice, helping the community, providing this service. And they want to make sure this service is sustainable. And the regional district needs to come back to the table with an offer that's in line with other local governments to make sure that these services are sustainable. Because if we don't provide wages that are comparable to other local governments, the people that run the services will go. And it costs a lot more money to hire, train, and certify these people. These people are professionals but provide great services to your community. They love your community. They're your neighbors, they're your family, they're your friends. Trust me, I have heard it since, again, they were very excited to start ice early. And then they're like, we don't know what's going on. They didn't know what was happening because this was an operational decision by the regional district. So at this time, we will take great care when we go through our choices of job action if it gets to that point. We'd rather be at the negotiating table, talking and finding a solution that helps and supports our members to just have the basic essentials.
Okay, I've got an answer for that. Right now, the Elks and Royal Purple are looking at taking over the management of the community mall. Okay, that's paid for through the regional district, the same as the other facilities are. And that will not be union workers working inside that thing. Now, it may be union workers that clean or something like that. So I don't exactly know where these limits are. But if one group, if the Elks and Royal Purple, can take over that thing, the only obstacle that I see right now is really union.
Okay, so we got
it's just plain that way.
As usual. I'm actually going to address Eugene. I'm not part of their union, but I'm part of another union. And if we go on strike, you do not cross the picket line to go back to work. That absolutely defeats the whole purpose of bargaining, of job action. And you're the mayor of a municipality that has unionized employees. Do you think they're going to cross the picket line? It's very important that we acknowledge that we can never ask them to do that.
Well, if you want an answer, I want the kids to be able to play hockey.
I want all of that too, but I also don't want to see
But I think
people.
I may want them to play hockey more than you do. I'm from a union family, and I do not like to see the kids being in the way, and that's what it is.
Can I ask just a simple question for this winter? Is it hopeless to schedule hockey tournaments at this point? Because it's just irresponsible for us to even plan a hockey tournament because 24 hours, what is it? 72 hours?
Yeah, so if we propose to do any job action, it would be 72-hour notice. Please, just to let you know, we are doing, if we do decide to proceed with job action, it's through levels to add more and more pressure. Going on strike, shutting down services is the last thing we do because it hurts you, the communities we serve, and it hurts our members. They are not being paid. And so
I totally support that.
So I'm just letting you know, like, again, we will communicate out if we do decide on what type of job action.
Yeah, and I totally support that. What I'm getting at is that if we cancel a tournament the night before, they're not coming back for years, right? And COVID, it costs us a lot of money. We will also have to cancel our referees' hotel rooms and might even have to pay the refs out because we booked them, right? So what I'm getting at is, whatever the formula is, I feel like we kind of need to be told, we're going to do a tournament, Thursday of this week is it's happening, right? Like we need to know exactly whether or not we can responsibly plan tournaments, right? While there is job action. At this point, it's job action.
There's no job action.
So
we've given no notice.
So notice. Okay.
There's been no notice.
And we kind of just need this technical dispassion formula that if the union and the regional district at this phase, the facility's open, we can have hockey practice, but we're not doing any tournaments, right? So then maybe we just schedule last minute games for the whole season with Jasper and Clearwater, and that's our season, right? Like it's, yeah, McBride, sorry. But I mean, McBride got nuked by COVID also. We're both in the same rebuild, and we're just getting full teams in every age group. Like we're just getting there. So we don't want to cancel the tournament this week. It would just destroy us.
Can I add to your question?
Yeah.
So you were saying that there are levels of like job action, you're gonna slowly add those levels. At what point would our arena be one of those levels?
That is the final action a union can do. Removing services, just like VCGU, like the postal service, that is the last thing they want to do. We want to be at the negotiating table.
Well, the postal service is round robining things right now.
That just changed.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is like VCGU is slowly adding levels. At what level are we at, and like what can we see coming to kind of go, oh, maybe we need to be worried right now?
Yeah. No, what I will say, and I hear the frustration and the uncertainty. Our members have that uncertainty because right now, all the pieces are pretty much in the regional district's court. We're ready to go to the bargaining table and have a discussion.
You can't just be finger pointing.
I'm not finger pointing.
No, it feels like it. There's like, there's two sides here. You guys have to take responsibility. I do this to my kids. Like, figure it out. Guys. Stop pointing fingers. We are both doing it.
And we had some lovely people from the Labor Relations Board join us, and unfortunately the finger pointing just continued, or we just never got to it.
So I guess like, I don't want to be like, oh, I don't want to hear like, they're not doing anything. So what I want to know is what you are each choosing to do to make this go forward, and what I need to be watching for, because I have members who pay fees, and I need to be able to notify them.
Yeah, I understand. Unfortunately, we do not have a current date to do a specific job action. We have no grand plan or anything. We're going day by day. And again, if job action starts, we normally start at a lower level just to start to increase the pressure on our employer, the regional district.
So are any of those lower levels in our valley?
It could be, but it wouldn't be the removal of service.
So so then at that point, what is something that we would see, I agree with you, I hear what your question is. What's something concrete that we can say, oh, they cut the services for X, Y, Z. Now we know that the next stage is the arena services. Is there something like that that we can see ahead of time?
Unfortunately, there
to be
isn't.
able to make plans?
Unfortunately, there's no grand ladder or schedule. It's a dynamic situation. And we just base it on where we can put the most pressure on the regional district without affecting communities and our people. Because again, our people are in these communities.
I appreciate it. Just, can we please get a responsible administrative, don't book hockey tournaments? At this point, like, we just need to know what level of service we can bank on, and we will adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously timing-wise, in terms of fall here and getting ice and things, I think we're early season obviously is a challenge, and like booking tournaments for right after ice isn't necessarily because you don't, just a lot of uncertainty obviously. But I don't think that should curtail you from doing that for the whole season. I don't think that should do that. So we can work on some guidance and notification. Like I said, I realize the challenge you're under if you cancel on, like I said, Friday morning and people are coming Friday afternoon, Friday night, you're out for costs and different things. So yeah, uncertainty at the moment, but I'd say later into the year and into the new year, things are probably greater ability to do that. But again, uncertain, right? So it's not something we can commit to per se, not knowing exactly what will happen in the future. But I think dissuade you from stopping everything for the whole year. We're still at the start of the year. We're still at the start of the year.
So what is your plan for increasing communication to the community? That's what I'd like to really to know. How are you going to be able to communicate with us better than obviously you have done so far?
Yeah, so I mean, we have to take that on and make sure we're providing more periodic, more focused updates. I mean, as we go through the ice making process, and once we're getting close, here's the dates. Okay, it's in, you can use it. Here's the schedule. Like, try to really do a better job of that being timely and making sure we're getting that out to CCC, the different user groups, and things of that nature. So I think we need to just kind of have more of a full-scale attack on the communication piece out. I guess the challenge is, and I'll just go back to some of the uncertainty pieces. It's hard to communicate when you don't have new information to communicate. And so we want to make sure we're giving you factual pieces. So we say, go ahead and have the tournament this weekend. We want that to be the case, and so you can trust that. I get what you're saying. You need that certainty. So we're wanting to make sure that before we do send you something, that's what it's going to be. And so with us, some of the uncertainty that is challenges, but I think we can work through doing better at that through our website, through Facebook, through the community groups, and we have robust Facebook and discussion.
Email, even I'm not on Facebook, which I'm on Facebook, but I don't look at it.
Yeah.
And so I had people texting me photos of an update, but I have a signed user agreement for the rink, and I never got a notification.
Yeah, apologies for that.
So if you can fix that,
we can work on that. Certainly, I know on our website you can sign up for notifications. Not saying you have to do that, but just that's an option that would allow you to see things coming through. But we can certainly look at that around user group email lists, or for sure that should be something that we should have.
Okay, so the ice is not in yet. It's not finished. It's obviously not ready for use yet. When the ice opens, presumably there will be one of these very informative notices to the communities to say, hey, your ice is in, rec center's opening. At that time, could you guys, seeing as I'm hoping that you're going to take everything here tonight, go back to the ivory tower, and talk it all through and come up with a game plan. So that's a full 10 days, maybe not business days, but anyways, however it works out in the math. Could you have, by the time that you announce that the ice is open, could you please have together a plan for how you're going to be accountable to the community? And we are going to do this, we're going to give you this much notice, we're going to do, this is the next time we're meeting with the union, whatever, some kind of, we are going to notify all user groups, this is where we will be posting, whether it's on this Facebook page or on this, in this newspaper or whatever. Can you have, this is the bullet point, this is the way it will be, and post it at both rec centers at the very least, and then that way, wherever else it might catch us all on Facebook or the newspapers or what have you, well, hopefully we'll all catch it eventually, but yeah, I'm also not on Facebook, and I also was receiving like screenshots of people's Facebook posts about this, and it's not from regional district, it's from like people in the community who are like, hey, there's this meeting happening. Like, anyway, so if you guys could come up with that game plan and like post like what your plan is to be accountable to us, that would be awesome. By like day one of ICE, that would be awesome.
Just so you know, this wasn't a regional district organized meeting. I'm sure they would have, it would have been more official. This is a community driven, and these, everybody was invited to come in and talk, and they thought it was important enough to come in and do this.
Okay, well, thank you.
But yeah, we can work through that communication plan.
So the decision that was made on, or released on October 1st, because I suspect that the decision actually wasn't made on October 1st, it was made whatever date was made at the regional district. I would like to put a little bit of onus on the regional district and on our 3 directors, because you guys have meetings every month, right? Where you're sitting there. So I'm asking, I guess, were there not questions being asked about, it's September, here's our meeting. Are the ICE going in? Are we good to go? Or does you guys, was that not a conversation that was had at the meetings? Or where does that communication fall off with the directors themselves and the regional district? And I'm just asking how that process kind of went along.
Yeah, I may be able to touch on this. So when it comes to operations, the board doesn't meddle in operations. Those kind of decisions are at the staff, management, and local, whatever the service is. So, it's not really up to the board to make those kind of decisions.
But they can ask the questions, or no, are they not supposed to do that?
We can ask questions for updates of where things are at, but we also have to be cognizant that we empower staff to do their jobs, and part of their jobs is looking after these services. So, to get into that kind of detail is really not where we should be as a board, sort of at the elected level. Do you want to add something?
No, just that, yeah, we do provide updates to the board. There's not, as Mayor mentioned, it's not providing governance, and then operations is tasked to myself and the team, and so but we do provide updates back, and yes, we do have those meetings, and so we're talking about potential service impacts and what that's going to look like, and sort of.
So was that brought up at the meeting prior to the decision being made then?
Yeah, we talked about service impacts, and when we had our essential service decision actually just in the days before, around that time in the middle of September. So around that, and around solid waste and some of the potential impacts that we've had there as well.
So, I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit confused. So the no making ICE decision was made by the employees and the manager of the arenas in our towns?
No, they had been staffed in Prince George.
Oh, okay.
So in conjunction with the staff, the arena supervisor here and our team, our community service team and myself, made that decision based on the uncertainty of the ability, the time frame of being able to make ICE, as I mentioned, takes 10 to 14 days, and so knowing that we could receive strike notice within 72 hours, we did not, and so with that, knowing missed opportunity to get that in sooner, but we made that decision based on some of the uncertainty and the need to be able to sort out how we can maintain the ICE, so not wanting to put it in and have to take it out and put it back in, knowing there's a time lag there as well, and so some of those pieces factor into the decision, and so that's.
What is the approximate cost of putting in the ice and taking it out?
Yeah.
What is that cost involved?
Yeah, so it takes around, just put it in and out, and sort of, let's say, to do it in extra time, you're in the 7,500 to 10,000 range in terms of, one of the bigger issues for us really is time. So cost is one factor, but not the only factor. Time and the ability to get the ice in. If we were to start and get stuff partway, that could just be, we don't get the ice in and it doesn't, I have to start over again. And so really the time factor more so than the financial factor. Financial is always important, but that's not the only factor that we're considering, and not necessarily the core source of the decision on the finances.
So based on the fact that it's been this amount of time, what was the core factors of why the ice wasn't put in based on uncertainty?
Yeah, so really just the ability to maintain it if job action was to occur, and the risk of job action. So obviously not job action yet, but just the union has a strike mandate, are able to go on strike within 72 hours notice. The ability for us to maintain it with our one exempt staff, and so we've done a lot of work on that over time, and knowing that how you would monitor that and how that would work. And so that's, as I explained earlier, how we work through kind of adding one sheet and adding the second sheet and finding contingency plan, but that we may not be able to retain that in job action. And so that was the decision-making process that we went through.
I'm just curious what changed between last week and this week where we decided to put the ice in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely, appreciating the community's feedback and the hearing from that. I think us really working through what our technical specifications are, what do we have to do, re-looking at that, considering what one exempt person could do, what that would look like, and how if we can get ice in and kind of start that process that we would be able to maintain it for future use and not necessarily waste the month putting it in, taking it out, putting it in. And so that was really just a change in structure there.
A change in structure and also a change in risk tolerance, a little bit, because when you're operating under 72-hour strike notice, where you could be, shut down within 3 days of whatever it may be, that adds a risk to putting in ice to any decision that the regional district makes. So governments, and rightly so, tend to be very risk adverse. They don't want to do something that's going to cause them to lose their certification so that they cannot run the ammonia plant in the future, or that puts them in conflict with health and safety rules or WCB or that whole piece. So I understand the regional district being risk adverse on this and delaying it because there's no certainty. They could be shut down within 3 days at any time. So understanding that and understanding the risk adverseness of it is one thing. And then as this, as far as I understood, we were, there was anticipation that a strike could happen at any time. There really was that messaging. So wherever it came from, and there's no finger pointing, but that a strike could happen at any time. So it would have been irresponsible for the regional district to take that risk if there was going to be a strike within 72 hours. Now that it's delayed and it doesn't look like there's immediate job action, it gave the regional district a little bit of certainty, and then you guys added on to their risk tolerance. It became more risky to not put the ice in than to put the ice in. We're not so much not risky, but I mean, it really did. It had an impact to say, look, this is, as this goes on, the calculations change. It becomes, more risky not to put the ice in than to put it in. And we reached that point, that tipping point. Thanks to the communication efforts from the communities to make sure that, that was something that it was emphasized how important it was. And then some different information as well for what length of time we have to at least put the ice in. The worst case scenario, you guys, would have been we start putting the ice in and all of a sudden there's a 72-hour strike notice and we have no way of, we have to shut down the plants, we got to figure out how to take the ice out, and everything is it's just a cluster, whatever you want to call it. So I understand the regional district's hesitancy and risk adverseness, but I also understand the region and appreciate the fact that when different information came in, that they made a different decision. So this decision that they're making to put the ice in is still a risky one for them, but hopefully we can make it work.
When did the union issue their strike notice?
Well, they went on.
But since they did.
When did they issue their 72-hour strike notice?
No, they haven't issued.
No. What they did is
But
just
you had the ability to.
Yeah.
So that strike was taken in August, and the ability.
So you've had since August.
No, but the there's two pieces to that. So there's strike vote, and then there's an essential service order. So that actually cannot go on strike until the essential service piece was solved, and that was solved towards middle to end of September. So even though the vote is in August, it can't actually go on strike in August because we're still determining essential services. So between September, middle to end of September and October 1st, that's really the window of decision making that we had. So much shorter than the August piece. I understand the August piece and the strike vote piece, but I understand the piece there.
So, having known that, like, in August they served that, and then you got to clear that. Should you guys not have let us know about that?
Yes.
Because I think the blindsiding part of it is the hardest for all of us, right? It just, all of a sudden out of nowhere, it's like, sorry guys, you're kind of screwed here, you're in between a rock and a hard place. It's, I think that communication, had that happened then, I think a lot of the anger in the group would be lessened. Personally, it just, nothing's fault.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and that's a misstep from our side in terms of timing and stuff. So appreciating the August piece of strike vote, but also mid to late September on sort of the essential service piece, so that we're awaiting that to kind of have a bit of clarity on what that might look like for the whole situation.
I'm not sure how much I understand about all of this, but since this could happen anytime, any year, how could we ever have ice? If all of the time there's a problem of strikes, we have to get over this.
Yeah, it's a good question. So when we do set an agreement or come to agreement, it's for a number of years. So depending on the number of years that it's set for. So our last agreement was a 3-year agreement. So we have certainty for those number of years. For the regional district and for union partners, this is the first time in 60 years, I think, where we've gotten sort of this close to a strike. So again, this is not, for us, it's not a typical process. Hopefully that's not the case going forward. Then it becomes typical. So I appreciate the concern, but it's not necessarily an every year piece. It's really when contract comes up, and if we were to get to this sort of issue again, and hopefully that's not the case. So you have certainty when we do eventually come to an agreement. You have certainty over the years that we've agreed to, and that will be public knowledge of what that is once it comes to an agreement.
I'm Samantha from Valemount. What I find difficult to understand, I hear 2 organizations saying that they want resolve a resolution here. We all want the same thing. We want the ice. But I also hear 2 organizations saying that the other won't come to the table. But here I'm sitting listening to both of you saying that the other won't come. So who's telling the truth?
Yeah, so we're working through a process, the bargaining process, the negotiation process. It's a challenging one.
That's been happening since August?
But that's been, negotiating actually happening since February of 2025. So, things take time, and so we're working through that process. So I appreciate, we're difference in opinion and working through that, but again, we're working through, I think both sides want to see resolution to this and try to figure this out. So both sides are working towards doing that. We intend to do that. So again,
So you both have come to the table then?
Yeah, we've been working. We've had negotiation, multiple days of negotiation, multiple back and forth pieces, and we're working through how we can get back to making.
What's the estimated time of decision making? How long will this take?
I don't have that at the moment, but we're definitely towards the end of the piece with having the union having the ability to strike within 72 hours. We need to work through that.
On a 3-level tier, that 72-hour strike.
Sorry?
Did you not say it was a 3-level tier for the strike?
No. We, as a local, because again, our members are your neighbors, your community members, we don't want to see services withdrawn. So we're going to find the best way that we can to make sure our members get wages that are in line with other local governments and their deals. And so we're going to find ways that we can possibly do job action and put pressure on the regional district and the regional district board to come back to the table to offer a fair deal.
Because your pamphlet says it wasn't you guys that didn't want the ice.
No, our members were wanting the ice. We had no, we were ready to go, put in the ice.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing here, and this is something that is a huge issue, is the communications. So putting together a plan for communications is huge, and I think that we'll see that. Does anybody else have anything new to add?
Just
just appreciate the stakes. Like with a hockey tournament, there's restaurants and hotels that do or don't hire more staff.
Oh, yeah.
For that weekend, right? We're talking about some of our tournaments for tens of thousands of dollars to generators.
So when is your first tournament scheduled, or what do you, pardon?
We haven't.
We can't schedule tournaments. Like hockey tournaments are not done in the last minute.
Oh, I know, my son
months.
used to play minor hockey and I managed a team, so I understand that, like, it's huge, it's a huge deal to put on.
So it's, and I mean, yeah, everyone understands this happens, but with just the communication side is, we just need to know, this is it. We're not scheduling tournaments this year until either side says we can guarantee that you can host this tournament, because we can't do it.
Yeah. So maybe we should have an email list with, with the leaders of the user groups, so that we can, have timely and personal communications where people are not seeing it on Facebook. It's not a Facebook or an advertisement. It's direct communication with the leaders of these community groups that are dependent on the ice.
From what I'm understanding, there was a 3-year contract in place that there was going to be a strike. Wasn't about to be a strike, and I was curious if we could bring another one of those contracts of there not being a strike over a period of time to like make communication stronger and make us know, hey, there's no strike because this contract was set up. Could we get that going?
So we're currently, that's what we're trying to work towards. So we're currently at an impasse, I'll use that word. So we're currently at an impasse where, again, we both parties need to get back to the table to get a solution and get a fair agreement for both sides. That, again, services won't be interrupted.
Okay, so I would like to thank everyone. Has everybody had a chance to be heard? So this is huge. This is your opportunity to speak directly to, those of us in the regional district and those of us who are local leaders to, make sure that as we move forward, that we're not making the same mistakes over and over again, because that's just, silly. So we want to make sure that we're taking enough away so that we can make an impactful difference in how we do things and how we communicate. Okay, yes?
One more question. It's a structure question, I guess, and I'm just thinking about what Kenna said. The admin staff is making these decisions, and the board isn't really allowed to help or know or be involved in the decisions. So how do you make those decisions without involving the tax base that pays for the service, and then just do them?
Yeah, no,
as an administration.
Yeah, it's
like, I'm asking how that works. Like.
Yeah, I mean, again, like as Lara mentioned, so for the board, providing that governance and overview and strategy and those sorts of high-level pieces, passing on, operational pieces to administration and feedback that information back to the board. So yeah, we certainly need to work with the communities to make those decisions, but the communities are also tasking us with making some of those decisions to keep things moving on a daily basis, right? So realizing on the big stuff like this, yeah, we need to communicate better, and I'm hearing the conversation today, and I do take that to heart, and I appreciate the feedback, and I appreciate that, the missteps and mistakes made, and we work towards how can we fix that, how can we make that better in the future. So I think that's sort of our operational guidance, right, as we're able to make those decisions. We need to be working with our supervisor manager over here to make sure we have the community's best interest in mind right now, and see those things.
And the community consultation committees. So what used to happen is there used to be local management committees. They used to be called management committees for each arena, as well as an on-site manager. We're talking 20 years ago. This is the way it was done. Now, those management committees have been changed to community consultation committees, but the object of them is still the same. And we always are looking for members to provide input, to have regular meetings on the services that the rec centers provide. So if you know of your community consultation people in Valemount, the chair is Laura Keel, and in McBride, the chair is Dale Stevens. And again, everybody can be a part of those community consultation committees, because that's one of the ways that we voice how we do things. The other one is local management, and we've been working on getting local management here for the since we lost our last local manager in Lyle Lewis. So between that period and now, we've been working on making sure that a local manager has the skill set and the ability to manage these and provide that local perspective. So we're there. We're almost, we've put a job advertisement out for a manager position. That's going to happen shortly, I would imagine. I don't know exactly when. We have made sure that we have robust community consultation committees, and those committees are listened to. Those committees can write directly to the board. They can write a letter directly to the board saying, we recommend this, and it becomes a part of the public agenda. So that's a way that really you have a direct input into decisions that the board would make, and to make sure that the community is being represented. That's the word. And like newspaper, it's good. Represented in this, because that's important. We can't do this without the community being represented. We can't make the decisions without community input. So collecting community input in however way that we do it is essential. So.
I just add that this is certainly an unprecedented situation. Our sort of typical structure on the day-to-day operation pieces, it really does flow through. We're trying to harder to have more and more of those decisions made locally. That is something we're endeavoring to have that posting out, or have that posting out to have that in place here. So again, knowing this is unprecedented, in 60 years, never had to kind of work through that, and so I appreciate that that's unique.
So when I was on the library board, the board is supposed to set policy, and they hire the library director, and the library director then hires the staff. So there's supposed to be this break between the library director taking care of daily management, reporting back to the board who sets policy. So is that, am I gathering that that's kind of how the regional district board and CAO work? Is it somewhat similar?
Similar model.
Okay. So then, in what way can the regional district board actually set the tone for the CAO to be able to know that the rec center is important? Because what I'm hearing is, in August there was initial notice, but then in mid-September, when we were registering before, they were like, yeah, they're supposed to be putting the ice by now, but there's rumors of a strike. And that was like, what, mid-September that we were registering? September 15th, we were registering for figure skating, and already the rumors were around. And it wasn't until October the 1st that regional district notified everybody, right? So in that time, there should have been already word on the street was about the union stuff, right? So there should have been plenty of time for regional district if they were, whoever, CAO, all that, if these rec centers are so important and everything is being weighed so important, and everybody's aware that this is so important to our communities, then why was it waited until after October the 1st, when all of a sudden everybody's all angry, to actually start being like, oh, I wonder what we can do to solve this problem? Like, shouldn't that not have been part of the conversation in mid-September, when it's like, oh, we're getting a strike, all this stuff is happening with the negotiations, we better come up with some proactive solution here, because we realize that the rec center is important. So is there a way that regional district board can actually make a policy on this to set the importance level higher for the rec centers, I guess is what I'm saying, so that the CAO has something other than just pure numbers to go off of?
That's why you elect your representatives.
Yeah.
Well, we have elected representatives, that's why they're right here. I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I mean, certainly that's, it's really important. I understand the importance of doing, as I get that we're making a decision that impacts the full community. Again, just kind of going back to some of the challenges that we face, and the uncertainty piece is definitely unprecedented for this. And so, certainly the board can provide that guidance, and they do through strategy and through all those pieces to us to be able to work through that. So,
I'm not really sure that I have a whole lot to add. I think there's, of course, the frustration, and we've heard that from the community side today. We hear through your representative at the board table what's going on in the community. That comes to the rest of the board through your local representatives here. I think timelines and following process and when you're in a negotiation, you know, you've got to just follow that through and allow it to proceed. And, you know, there are steps that happen, you know, in different stages. And as we work through those, information changes. And so it's certainly what we've heard clearly is we need to communicate more efficiently, in a more timely manner, with as much certainty as we can possibly provide. And, you know, we will endeavor to do that as we follow this process through to getting to a negotiated settlement.
And unfortunately, these decisions, these operational decisions don't come to the board. There was no chance, there was no time that said, we're not going to, you know, there was no decision point that the board could make whether or not to delay the ice. Now, I don't know how, like Chris can probably tell you how often I've been in contact with him in the past. he's nodding. But I can advocate, I can suggest, but I cannot tell people, you know, I can't tell Chris what to do. He's not, you know, he's responsible to the board, he's not responsible to me. And if I am too bitchy, for whatever another word, I can use that word because I can, well then I'm making, you know, then I'm not allowing him to do his job and I'm being disrespectful to him in his role. So we all have roles in this and we have to respect the professionalism of the people that we work with, but we also have to learn from our mistakes. And this was a mistake, you know, this is not a, you know, you don't hear any justification. There's just, this is the reason why we did what we did, but it was a mistake. We've learned from certain things. We're learning about communication and we're going to be better next time. We're going to put things in place so that this doesn't happen again. And when this comes up, when the arenas come up, I think this is a great opportunity for our Prince George staff to know just how important this really is. So this is, you know, this is, like you say, you need to hear the stories and the people rather than just look at the numbers. So this is an opportunity for them to come out and hear your stories. Yes?
I'm not sure who made the decision to inform who or whom when. I was first told about the ice situation on September the 10th. Every staff member at Valemount Secondary received an email on September the 10th saying there's no ice going in, optimistically 1st of October. So whoever made the decision to send our staff that, I'm not sure why so many of these user groups were not included in that email thread. Okay? So I thought everybody would have known the same thing I knew on September the 10th. Right? So, and it went to every staff member at the high school.
So where does that go for us? What happened there? Yeah.
Don't have any knowledge of that email at the time there, so.
Just the reason I bring it up, and not to point fingers, is just to say communication was happening, but not to everybody. And it's not my job to spread that amongst our community whatsoever, because I don't know exactly who else. Maybe there was another mass email going to other groups, user groups and stuff. I have no idea, right? But I mean, in that email, it was stated that there was no plan to put ice in as of September 10th. But they were hopefully, it was operational difficulties was the reason why it was being delayed. And hopefully by the 1st of October, ice was going to be starting to be made, right? So point of sharing that is maybe whoever's making those calls could be a little bit more inclusive with user groups, not just the schools.
Especially the main one that uses it.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So Jean, yeah, and then we're just going to find a word.
I just wanted to explain one thing. The two rec centers, Valemount and McBride, those are the only things that are, there is no other rec centers involved in this. So we're at an anomaly, okay? And there's no question when you look back that this should have been done a bit different. But being fair to the regional district, this is something that they've never gone to this extent, and to the union, not just the regional district. This has never happened before. Like, this is a new thing. They've negotiated and they've always been able to come up with something. This one's different, okay? And you learn by your mistakes, but I'm not even saying, I shouldn't even say it was a mistake. It was what everybody was trying to do the right thing. And I just hope that, you know, the two sides now can get together, and the board can affect things. I mean, Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think there's 13 members on the board, voting members. 14? Well, you've got 4 of the 14 in here today. And where we come in is we ratify this thing when it's done. Okay? We're not the ones that negotiate it. It's negotiated by the staff there. Then it comes to us. And we say, yeah, we agree to that or not. Usually if they come to us, they work their butts off together between the union and themselves. You know, it would, I can't tell you that we would automatically, pass the thing. But being on that board, it's a really good board. There's a lot of really good people on that thing, and everybody now knows. I mean, the fact that this thing happened locally was brought up, and to get a decision. In this world these days, that is what people listen to. So if this thing hadn't come out today, you would have still been in a lot better situation. And you're now in a lot better situation that you've had the chance to tell the regional district, the directors, and the union, that we got to get an answer for our kids. And this is different because the rest of what they handle, it doesn't affect our families and our kids as much as this thing does. So I'm hoping that the regional district, the board members that are here, and the union rep will find a way that we can all have our hockey and have the different things we need for our kids. Because, when you get a sport like hockey, that's a team sport. That's so important. The older people and middle-aged people, adults, a lot of different things they do there. So we just got to have, the skaters, the amount of figure skaters we have in these communities compared to what's here, that's absolutely unreal.
Yeah, and the next Tanner Molendijk might be somewhere in, of your things. Carla, did you have something to say?
This is a blip right now. This is something that hasn't happened before. I've been in McBride for 40 years. This has never happened.
Thank you, and thank you to everybody. I've got the talking stick now. So just, is everybody okay if we leave it at this? Is it, is this what we wanted to say?
When will we get an update?
When are we going to get an update?
Yeah, we should have something for you next week in terms of sort of progress on next week.
5 business days? Next week, 5 business days?
Probably towards the end of next week, when we're kind of starting Tuesday. I'd say we have something towards the end of next week, just some progress there. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you for coming to listen to us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for coming out. Thank you for having us.
And thank you very much to everyone for